Welcome back to my Business Process Optimization podcast. I'm your host, Brian DeShazer, founder of FractaPro. In our previous episode, we explored the fundamentals of BPO, learning its definition, its significance, and its key principles. I also discussed a 7-step model I've employed to reach identified BPO outcomes in my past. If you missed that episode, I encourage you to go back and give it a view. And it can be found on my website at www.fractaprollc.com under the podcast menu. And thank you to everyone who viewed and shared my last podcast. A special thank you is extended to everyone who reached out directly with questions, comments, and support. I appreciate it, and I also appreciate you. Today, I'm going to get into 2 of the 3 essential building blocks of BPO that, from my perspective and experience, I find to be the most critical. The first is process analysis, and the second being process documentation. The third is root cause analysis, and we will cover that topic next week. Anyone that has ever worked with me knows why I find analysis and documentation so critical. First, it provides organizations with a deeper understanding of their processes. It enables the identification of what is or isn't performing well and where, and it aids in root cause analysis. Further, analysis and documentation also drives the creation of performance measurement baselines through KPIs, KRIs, and OKRs. It promotes standardization and consistency, and it facilitates effective training and knowledge transfer. At the core of BPO, analysis and documentation serves as building blocks of an effective BPO strategy. Why? I'm glad you asked. First, analysis, if it is done well, provides organizations with a clear and comprehensive understanding of their current processes, the good, the bad, and everything in between. By analyzing how tasks are performed, roles and responsibilities, inputs and outputs, upstream and downstream dependencies, and my all-time favorite, time study results, organizations can gain needed and valuable insights into their workflows. Through process analysis, along with assigning a severity category such as critical, high, low, medium, or perhaps nice to have, and typically defined by identified losses and risks, organizations can pinpoint bottlenecks, redundancies, gaps creating opportunities for operational loss or other inefficiencies, and have a better understanding of where to direct their attention. By uncovering these issues, organizations can take a more focused approach, not only driving process improvement, but also ensuring identified resources are allocated at their highest and best utilization. Some of these deficiencies may require an enterprise-wide project, which will often lead to prioritization among other projects already in progress. These projects will typically need a business or technology sponsor. They will need a PM, analysts, developers, testers, and more. If budgets don't allow for another project, organizations will need to make the decision to reprioritize in-progress projects and resources, or accept the potential losses and risks and include a BPO project in next year's consideration list along with the proposed budget. It's been my experience, if you allocate a small, hyper-focused BPO team who can make incremental changes on a consistent basis, you can get a head start on efficiency gains, reducing opportunities for operational loss, and reducing opportunities for increased risk. I've been fortunate to have a few great BPO teams in my past. This next topic I cannot stress enough. Analysis is nothing without accurate and complete process documentation, including detailed process maps. When processes are deeply analyzed and well documented, it provides a baseline for measuring process performance, and it also provides measurement for the success, or not, of your ongoing optimization efforts. Measuring process performance by establishing key performance indicators, key risk indicators, and objectives and key results, and importantly, including regular monitoring and testing, think our CSA structure. Organizations of any size can track their optimization progress, identify deviations from desired outcomes, and take corrective actions when and where needed. Next, most wouldn't argue that the standardization, consistency, and quality product and/or service delivery are value-add outcomes from accurate and complete process documentation. Said another way, in order to ensure accurate, complete, and consistent processes, your overall documentation needs to be created using a standard template, and that template needs to be regularly tested to ensure accuracy and completeness. Adjust your templates as frequently as you need to, And if you're just getting started in your optimization efforts, you may need to adjust your templates quite frequently. Some industries I have been a part of require clear process documentation your teams can and should follow. And when you're examined by regulators, exam deficiencies can show up in the form of observations or deeper regulatory criticisms such as memos of understanding or items requiring near immediate, if not immediate, action. Criticisms beyond that become more severe, not to discount the aforementioned potential regulatory exam outcomes in any way. When your processes are well documented, clear and understandable standard step action operating procedures can be written, ensuring that role-related tasks are executed consistently and completely. This minimizes errors, reduces rework, and enables organizations to consistently deliver high-quality outputs, keeping your customers and clients happy and loyal to your brand. Last, and by no means least, well-documented processes play a significant role in training and knowledge transfer. New team members, by following established processes covered in procedures, can experience a reduced learning curve along with accelerated progress towards higher productivity. Not transferring the knowledge easily opens the door for team members to create shortcuts, which we want to prevent, as this creates inefficiencies, opens the door for poor quality, higher risk, and operational loss. Now, before you say team members don't use or follow documentation, so why does it matter? It matters. Your team members will always find ways to make things more efficient, often through the shortcuts. Make it part of your ongoing analysis to pay close attention to what they say, even the snarky, sometimes passive-aggressive comments, as well as what they do, how they're using the system, using the screens, or not, the steps they take, or skip. You will learn a lot. And another area where you can gain qualitative and sometimes quantitative data is year-end self-assessments. Anecdotal in some instances, your team members are going to tell you where and why your processes and systems don't work. These folks are your experts. Observe and listen. And trust me when I say it is worth the time. Well-documented processes inform clear and complete training materials that mitigate some of the risks associated with team member turnover by giving them the tools to be successful at performing the role for which they were hired. It costs a lot of money to recruit, hire, and train your team members. So do your best not to create unintended consequences such as unnecessary and frequent turnover, or find yourself in an uncomfortable spot where adverse reputation content surfaces through word of mouth that emerges during the job interviews. Ask me about this one if you want to know more. Or on Glassdoor or any other company performance and reputation sites. I've seen more than one place where poor company ratings were tied to topics that include poorly written standard operating procedures, poor onboarding, and poor ongoing training. Spend the time. You'll be glad you did. Today, at a high level, we discovered the value of process analysis and process documentation and how it provides organizations with a deeper understanding of their processes. We covered topics like how analysis and documentation enables the identification of what is or isn't performing well and where, and it aids in root cause analysis. Further, we briefly considered analysis and documentation driving the creation of performance measurement baselines through KPIs, KRIs, and OKRs. We also learned that it promotes standardization and consistency and facilitates effective training and knowledge transfer. This concludes today's episode on the importance and value of process analysis and documentation in business process optimization. In our next episode, we will explore another critical aspect, root cause analysis. Join us as we get into the systematic approach of identifying the underlying causes of process inefficiencies. Until then, remember that analyzing and documenting your processes is the first step towards achieving operational excellence. And be sure to tune in for more valuable insights and practical strategies to optimize your business processes. Again, I'm Brian DeShazer, your host and founder of FractaPro, where we work with you to unlock efficiencies and unleash growth. Reach out with any questions about the services we offer, and if you have any constructive comments or suggestions, please don't hesitate to share them. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next week.